Welcome and thank you for joining us as we take a look at Renegade Game Studios' new puzzle series, Crimes and Capers. This series each are standalone boxes that have little puzzles and stories going along with them with different themes. The one we are looking at is Lady Leona's Last Wishes. This is based on pretty much the last will of Lady Leona and how she's pretty much playing all the players against each other.
Yes, Lady Leona has died, and you are all different family members or people who work in her big old mansion. And it turns out Lady Leona is a little bit spiteful, vindictive, and she likes to make everybody work to try to inherit her inheritance. So it's one of those classic kind of mysteries where you're trying to figure out her weird puzzles, as well as possibly, what happened to her, who are you in this world, how can you get her inheritance. Essentially, all the players are competing against each other, but it is presented in more of a narrative format. When you open the box, not all of the components will be revealed right away. Some things are hidden in this chest right here, which has an actual combination lock, but you will have access to these diaries. Each character has their own diary. This can be played with 4 to 6 players, so there are some they recommend you maybe leave out if you don't have the full count that aren't quite as essential to the story. But there's a little guide that comes along with it that will tell you exactly who the characters are, their backgrounds, even what their wardrobe would be if you want to do a full-on role-playing evening and really get into the mood and play this as a whole themed party night kind of a thing. And of course, you have the letter from Lady Leona that establishes the story. But most of the gameplay, at least for the first half, and there's a lot we can't talk about without spoiling, is really just about reading these diaries to yourself and to each other and trying to kind of work together to figure out initially what the combination to this chest is.
Yeah, we won't spoil too much, but really this game will break down into the 2 acts. The first act is everything that we pretty much shown you here and trying to find out how could you get into this chest. And then the second act take things in an interesting way. You're asked to pretty much compete against each other, which makes sense. You're not all nice people. You want the will for yourself.
That's right. Yeah, everything that comes in here kind of is Act 2. The whole experience probably takes like roughly 90 minutes to 2 hours. Maybe it depends on, maybe if you want to have some dinner during it or something. Again, it's that kind of an experience, that classic murder mystery dinner party sort of thing. There's like we said, there's another one right now that's high school themed. So obviously very different sort of an environment, but this one feels very classical. Mm-hmm. So I think going into this, I definitely thought it was going to be a little bit more of a modern kind of escape room style game where everyone's working together on puzzles. And it does have a good bit of that, but I do think it veers more towards the classical, as I said, role-playing murder mystery dinner party kind of a thing, where I think if you get the most out of this, it's from you actually, if you do actually dress up, if you do actually talk in character.
No, I think that was probably our biggest fault when we played this, because we took it out. I just thought, it's going to be like your exit, your escape room, lots of puzzles, and we love those. And it's not that we didn't love the puzzle in these, but this kind of game where there's the role-playing, which I actually like the idea of. I remember when I picked my character, I'm like, I like this character. I can beat this character. I feel like, though, when you play a game like that, which we've learned before with different games, you must select the people you play with very carefully. Yeah. You may have someone who's just the kind of person like, there's a lock, solved it.
Yes, you need people who are willing to get into the story and understand the kind of experience that you're getting into, because it could really boil down to just I found a clue in mine right here. What's your clue say? You know what I mean? As opposed to the more fun version of it is like, this happened to me at this time at the dinner party. So what happened to you?
I think they actually do a good job of having you do that, because these journals do not have all the answers. They even tell you at the end, which is nice. They like the way they, you get the answer. They tell you if you're playing as Sebastian, you need to talk to this person, this person, and this person to get that kind of information or how you'd solve it.
I think for my money, at least for me, the reason I feel like I'm stressing, you really do need to get into that stuff, is because I do think the by the numbers puzzle aspects of this game are weaker than other games in this genre. The fact that you had to communicate with each other, that's interesting, and I like that part of it, especially in the second half, and I think that's where it faltered for me, is once I saw like, oh, this is the rest of the game, which I'm not going to say, but there are puzzles essentially that everyone's trying to solve maybe by themselves, or maybe they could team up with people and work on them together. I found them not that interesting.
Yeah, and in fact, I don't know how it happened, but when we were playing, I don't know, I had to get something or clean up. I never felt like I even got a chance to. I was like, okay, let me solve it. And then like because you could team up and stuff. Your side was like, we got it, we won.
Yeah, no, well, I don't think it had anything to do with what anyone was doing. There was definitely an element of, I don't know if it kind of is just luck.
Yeah, like it wasn't like I felt stumped or something. I just
happened to talk to the right person to get the information that I needed way before anybody else even maybe could have. And I think that's why it's like you really need to think of this as a role-playing exercise, because it's like, oh, that can happen. And maybe you want to think about, why would my character talk to that character? Why would they want to, or why shouldn't they? If you're playing this to win, I don't think you're going to be that happy with the experience. Or if you're just like a big puzzle head, I think there are definitely better versions of this that exist.
Crits and misses for Crimes and Capers, Lady Leona's Last Wishes.
Crits. The game's narrative is well presented with immersive components and characters that are easy to slip into the roles of to get into the right mindset for this game.
There is an excellent selection of characters for you to play as, each with their own personalities, traits, and desires, making it very easy for you to immerse yourself as the character for a fun dinner party.
The game encourages communication with other players, whether you're working together or against each other. It's up to you to decide what information you should or shouldn't share.
Considering our first crit, which supports good role-playing, this is a perfect mechanic that pairs the two very well. Misses. That role-playing aspect is key. If you aren't really trying to design the night around the role-playing, the competitive nature of the second act may not feel as fulfilling and even make the game feel short.
This is one of those games where you and your group really have to be in the right mindset. You have to be willing to go kind of all out with that role-playing to get the maximum value out of this one.
The majority of the puzzles in here are really just about learning what other people know. You could just get lucky and talk to the right person.
There aren't a ton of puzzles included here, and what there aren't terribly compelling.
I like the idea behind this, and in hindsight, I wish it's something that we sort of prepped for instead of just during game night picking it up and giving it a go. But even if we did that, I do really wish, like I said, like the two acts, I wish there was just like one more thing I felt like it needed. Like maybe it'd be all right for other things, especially if you combine dinner with this or something. But I don't know. What was your opinion on that?
It definitely felt like there was a little something extra missing. It felt like it ended. And like you said, we expected there to be more twists and turns, something that would occur, or it would just take longer for anyone to figure it out.
Yeah. In particular, there are some interesting plot hooks I think we learn once you open this box for each character. So like there's more than just this. But I didn't feel like it was like outside of saying like, this is a thing. It didn't continue on it. Like, especially like I know the person you played as, I'm not even going to hint at like that kind of stuff. There's something like, wow, that could have gone more, like you follow that storyline a bit more.
Yeah, some of it is just like, yeah, it's there to build out your character. It's interesting information, but it doesn't actually affect the solving of the case directly. In some ways it does, but not really. I mean, solving the case is it's not like it's not a case, but you know what I mean. Yeah, I feel I was a little disappointed with this because I am such a fan of puzzle games, narrative games, mysteries of any kind. We love those in board games. So it didn't quite hit the mark for me. I am still curious to try the other version, to see how different it is and if the theme makes a big difference, because this one is very like the most formulaic, been done, cliche storyline there is in mysteries.
It is very funny to think about it, because if someone's so controlling about the will, you'd think they'd leave it the chance of who would get it.
Yeah, but, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think this should be considered a dead end for Renegade. I like the idea because they do so many things to have a mystery party line going. I just think that this one maybe needed like I don't think it works well for this kind of thing, but like honestly, an expansion pack to put into it, that extra little thing. And maybe the high school one has that, or maybe like future ones will give that. Once again, the third act.
And I think that for certain kinds of people, you might love this. If you just are into the story and you want to have fun, and especially if you aren't, like we play so many escape room games, I'm like hungry I want a puzzle that's like really hard and I'm going to be thinking about it and all this stuff. And this just isn't that kind of game. So
Yeah.
It's expectation based, I think, too.
Even for me, like I said, I felt like I didn't even get a chance to solve my stuff in time. I didn't feel like sometimes I play a game, I feel like it's not fair that you got an advantage or something. I just felt like even like I would have been fine if you solved and you got into the third act. I'm like, oh, I have to now read it. It just felt like because
it was over.
Yeah.
Game's over. I did it. Like that. Put it away.
I think that's where like it's not even like I need difficult ones, just put more in there.
Yeah. But your mileage may vary. Also, it is, if it wasn't obvious, a one-time game. So once you know the solutions, there's no reason to play it again.
You can reset it in case you want to give it to someone else who hasn't played it yet. But you sort of know the mystery once you do it.
But if you have tried out Crimes and Capers, maybe you played this version or you tried the other one that's currently available, or maybe future ones that are different, you can talk to us in the comments section. Let us know what you felt about it. Of course, mark your spoilers if you have any spoilers to discuss. But how did the puzzles land with you? And maybe is there something that we missed or we just didn't get in the right mindset for it?
You can let us know, of course. We'd love to hear from you. But until then, I'm Will.
I'm Jonathan.
And this has been a Roll for Crit review. You have reached the end of the video. But before you go, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. And maybe try to help us out on Patreon if you can. If you want to hear more from us, we've also got a podcast. This is released weekly, and there'll be links down below for wherever you want to listen to podcasts.